Oh, Jeff, it's kind of a long ride up to Franconia, New Hampshire, so maybe we should stop at this grocery store and get some car snacks.
Yeah, that sounds good. Maybe some Moxie soda, some marshmallow fluff for sandwiches.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Moxie Soda, the official soft drink of Maine.
Yeah.
And Marshmallow Fluff, of course, born in Somerville, Massachusetts back in 1917. These are very New England car treats.
They are. Oh, hey, before we go,
Yeah.
I want to get some gum from the gumball machine. Could I borrow a quarter?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks. Oh, hey, man, not this quarter, though. Do you have a different one?
What's wrong with this one?
Well, this is a year 2000 state of New Hampshire quarter, and this quarter is cursed. I'm Jeff Belanger, and welcome to episode 92 of the New England Legends podcast. If you give us about 10 minutes, we'll give you something strange to talk about today.
And I'm Ray Auger. Thanks for riding with us on our mission to chronicle every legend in New England, 1 week and one story at a time. And we couldn't do it without our Patreon patrons.
No, we couldn't.
Who are sponsoring this week's episode. If you head to patreon.com/New England Legends for as little as $3 per month, you get early access to new episodes, plus bonus episodes that no one else gets to hear.
And please be sure to subscribe to our show so you don't miss a thing.
Right.
It's free, and it just takes a second through your smartphone's podcast app. And please also consider posting a review, because those reviews are how people find us in this vast sea of podcasts.
All right, Jeff, so you're saying this New Hampshire quarter is cursed?
Well, that's what they say, and that's also why we're here in Franconia Notch in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. We're looking for the ghost of an old man.
Jeff, if we want to be 100% accurate,
And we always do.
that's right, then our story begins on this very day, about 12,000 years ago, on a Thursday at noon.
Okay, that's incredibly specific. What happened?
What happened is that here in the valley that is Franconia Notch, glaciers from the last ice age are retreating north.
Okay.
As all that ice pulls back, it's grinding up the rocks and dirt along the way and reshaping mountains. Because that's what glaciers do.
Okay, that's true. Well, from here, let's jump ahead 11,786 years to the year 1805.
It's a big jump.
It's a big jump. A survey crew is moving through the area, and they're looking for a good place to build a road in this growing state of New Hampshire. The group is in an area of what was then called Farron's Pond, and it's starting to get dark, so they make their camp for the night. At dawn, Luke Brooks emerges from his tent and makes his way down to the pond. He splashes some water on his face. He gazes up 1,200 feet up the slope of the mountain before him to where the early morning sun is shining like a spotlight on the east-facing granite cliff high above him. Now, from where Brooks is standing, he sees this 40-foot profile of a rugged man, clear as the new day.
About this time, fellow surveyor Francis Whitcomb is just climbing out of his tent. Brooke calls him over to see the view, and Whitcomb is also awestruck by the profile above them. The two men believe this granite outline is the spitting image of the current president, Thomas Jefferson. Brooks and Whitcomb make note of the cliff face in their journals. They'll go on to tell others about this formation and will ultimately be credited with discovering the rock feature that would go on to be called the Old Man of the Mountain.
We have to remember that these are still the early days of the country, and though New Hampshire is one of the 13 original colonies, the country and the state are still pretty young around this time. And like any youngster, it's still trying to find its identity.
That's when we meet New Hampshire native John Stark, who served as a major general in the Continental Army during the American Revolution. In 1777, he distinguished himself as the hero of Bennington for his service during the Battle of Bennington, Vermont. For years after the Revolution had ended, reunions were held in Bennington. One of those reunions was to take place in 1809, but being in poor health, Stark sent a letter instead.
Okay.
His July 31st, 1809 letter offered his apologies for not being there in person, but also praising his soldiers for what they accomplished on the battlefield. Stark wrote,
"They were men that had not learned the art of submission, nor had they been trained to the art of war. But our astonishing success taught the enemies of liberty that undisciplined freemen are superior to veteran slaves."
Stark's letter was inspiring, but it's the note's postscript that will go down in history.
"I will give you my volunteer toast. Live free or die. Death is not the greatest of evils."
Live free or die. I like the sound of that.
So do a lot of other people because, well, it catches on.
I bet.
Though John Stark gets all the credit for the line, live free or die, it had been used before. at least as early as 1771 in Louis Sebastian Mercier's French novel titled The Year 2440. A line from the book reads, quote, "Choose then, man, be happy or miserable. If yet it be thy power to choose, fear tyranny, detest slavery, arm thyself, live free, or die."
Well, we can't blame Stark for borrowing a great line.
Right.
So the next character to come along in our story is the great New Hampshire statesman and orator, Daniel Webster.
Oh, that's one of my favorite books I read as a kid.
Yeah, right.
It's called The Devil and Daniel Webster.
Classic.
It's the story of how Daniel Webster outlawyered the devil himself.
And no doubt Daniel Webster is a New England legend all by himself, but it's the words he writes about this unique cliff face in Franconia Notch that cements the legacy of this location and steals the very metal of the state. Webster writes,
"Men hang out their signs, indicative of their respective trades. Shoemakers hang out a gigantic shoe. Jewelers, a monster watch. And the dentist hangs out a gold tooth. But up in the mountains of New Hampshire, God Almighty has hung out a sign to show that there he makes men."
Hear, hear, Mr. Webster.
Amen.
Then in 1850, Nathaniel Hawthorne publishes his story, The Great Stone Face, inspired by the Franconia Notch formation. And now, this old man of the mountain is famous. You could say on his way to legendary status.
And tourists are flocking to the White Mountains, not just to see the old man of the mountain, but the many other great peaks in the region. Yet one would be remiss if you didn't visit the area and pay your respects to the old man. But good things don't last forever. In 1886, Professor C.H. Hitchcock is quoted in a guidebook to the White Mountains as telling tourists if they want to see the profile for themselves, they, quote, better hasten to the spot because he doesn't think this feature's going to hold up much longer.
But that's ridiculous. It's been there for thousands of years. It'll be here forever, right?
Right. So the year's now 1945. World War II is wrapping up. It's the dawn of a new era. And New Hampshire is feeling kind of like a badass. This is the year the legislature declares that "Live Free or Die" will be the state's official motto, and it will appear on an emblem that depicts the old man of the mountain. So the phrase and the face will represent the entire state.
By 1971, the motto appears on the state's license plate, and the outline of the old man of the mountain now appears on state route signs and everywhere else they can put it.
Right.
The old man is a symbol of strength and fortitude. Meanwhile, geologists and engineers are paying close attention to the old man. There's fear that the stones could be getting weaker, so a giant metal turnbuckle is added to the face to help hold it up.
Now from here, we're going to jump all the way to the year 2000. For the past year, the United States Mint has been releasing these commemorative state quarters. They're releasing 5 per year and starting with the 13 original colonies. When they're discussing design ideas for the New Hampshire quarter, there's little debate. The quarter design will include the profile of the old man of the mountain next to the state's motto of "Live Free or Die."
Okay, so how is this quarter cursed?
Okay, it's now May 3rd, 2003. Driving rains and cold temperatures have been battering the Franconia region, and all the weather, the ice, the wind, it was just more than the old man could take. And at some point during the night, the old man, he just let go. In the morning hours, as locals glance up, expecting to see the familiar face staring east, they're shocked to find the old man is missing. At some time in the night, the stones fell. After 12 millennia, the old man is gone.
Oh, okay, I get it now. We're looking for something to blame besides erosion and gravity.
Right.
So we blame the U.S. Mint and their shiny commemorative quarter that just came out 2 years earlier. And a cursed quarter is born.
Well, we always need a scapegoat. I mean,
Right.
You have to remember, people are really upset by this. Some locals are literally crying on news interviews. This seemingly random rock formation had become a symbol, a legend, much bigger than the 40 feet of stones. The geological feature represented the entire state, and people don't let that go easily.
New Hampshire state legislators question if they needed to change their state emblem. And what about all those signs along the highways, the routes, the roads that
Right.
feature the outline of the old man? New Hampshire is in a bit of an identity crisis.
Change is hard, and New Englanders are a stubborn bunch. There's been talk of trying to rebuild the rock face, and while that debate continues, In June of 2011, the state dedicated a new park. Let's go check it out.
All right.
Welcome to Profile Plaza, Ray.
Thank you.
You may have noticed as we walked up that they had a giant turnbuckle on display. It's some of the hardware that was used to try to defy Mother Nature for a little while.
I also saw some of those various signs talking about the history of the valley.
Right.
But these 7 steel pillars up ahead, this is definitely the most interesting part of the park.
Right.
I'm pretty sure we just found a ghost, Jeff.
You're right, Ray, we did. If you stand in just the right spot behind any of these pillars, you'll notice a small metal piece at the end. And if you line that up with the cliff face way up there, you can see what the outline of the old man would have looked like from right here before May of 2003.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of amazing. And also kind of eerie.
Yeah, I know.
It's a lot of trouble for some seemingly random rocks.
Rocks that looked familiar enough to rise to legendary status. Rocks that helped define a state and an old man who vanished shortly after the federal government recognized and immortalized him in a quarter. And though the quarter meant him no harm, some won't ever forget or forgive that little chunk of metal. And to even use it causes pain to some who love the old man of the mountain almost as much as a real person.
You know what, Jeff? I don't think I want that quarter back. just in case, you know?
And that's the power of legend. You know, great things happen when we share these stories.
They do. If you want to see photos from this episode or any of our other 91 episodes, click over to our website at ournewenglandlegends.com. There you can see video clips from the New England Legends television show on Amazon Prime and dates for Jeff's ongoing story tour.
And you can also call or text our Legend line anytime at 617-444-9683. We love to hear from you. And we'd like to thank Eric Altman and Tim Ellis for lending their voice acting talents this week. And our theme music is by John Judd.
Until next time, remember, the bazaar is closer than you think.